had a brand that people trust. Sales is easy, right? That demo meeting is easy. They trust you, right? That's really what we're going after here. And so I just want to remember that it's not the ideas, it's all about the execution. And we've taken a lot of execution in our steps, some good, some bad. But I want to bring it all together and frame it. It's like I look at it, and I read a book from Seth Godin, and it's basically talks about ideas are like art. And what makes it art is that a person who made it at some point overcame resistance. Right? They ignored the voice of doubt, right? And they made something that was worth making. So, for example, when we launched our business into doing research for multifamily, I can tell you right now, if I asked the marketplace, hey, let me ask you this. I have an idea. Let's do this. Why don't you give me all your company email addresses and let's do a research project, and we'll ask them if your company is a great place to work. And then what we'll do is we'll state it publicly. You won't have any control of the process. We'll state it publicly, and then we'll rank them. And then what do you think? You want to do something like that? And the CEOs will be like, oh, no way we're going to give that kind of control over. So trust. We knew to introduce a product like that was important. And so there were certain things that had to go before that yes decision that gave them the confidence to move forward with something like that. And so we're going to talk about those strategies here. But what I mean by that is, when art interacts with the world is when it becomes the art. Right? So, the idea of best-selling books, you've heard it, right? So it's not, you may write a good book, but if you can't sell it, it's not a bestseller. It's not best written. So it needs to get out there. It needs to be seen. It needs to interact. People need to use it, right? And that's when it becomes the art. This right here, everything I'm doing here is my art. So I want your interaction. I want your involvement, right? That's what is special here. And speaking of art, I want you to think differently again about multifamily business development. If I took all the art in the world and placed it into one building, what would that be? It'd be a warehouse. Now, hence the trade show, right? We get all of our booths together. You're the art. We put them all into one room, right? But when I pick a piece of art out of that warehouse and I place it on a white wall, shine a light on it, put a beautiful black frame around it, we can sell that piece of art for $60 million. And it's the packaging, it's the environment it's seen in, it's the positioning, it's the framing. That's what increases the value. And that's what these strategies on these events will do for you. We want to pull you out of that warehouse and increase your value. Now, I've already showed you where I framed my ideas and strategies, and we have results to reflect on them. But I've learned this from working with these top agencies and putting these things into action. Our art has been interacted with. Right? We're using modern digital marketing strategies to help brands grow and scale. Now, I know this works. It's not theory, and I know it can work for you. So we're trying to think differently first about how things, how typically, things go. Now, I'm spending a lot of time now with our teams we have a group here, internal, called the Multifamily Strategic Growth. So it's multifamily clients, right? That's the idea. That's the outcome people are trying to go for. They don't want sponsorship. They don't want to attend trade shows. They actually want a client, so they can get their art into the marketplace, getting people using the product. That's at mclients.com. Not going to take time to look at that. That's not what this is about today. But when I'm spending time with the strategic teams there, what we know is that companies like you, or I guess companies like yours, become the brand everyone trusts, and they can generate inbound leads when we get these things right. So the whole idea is to get clients to call you instead of trying to figure out how to chase them down. Right? So today we're talking about thinking differently about multifamily business development. Here's how here's how we think about it. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask some questions live and go over some of the questions that we already have. But what we're trying to do, and if you're on board with this, is we want to help you build trust and sell at scale. And you can't rush a sales process. Sometimes we're trying to build credibility fast just in one demo meeting or one investor pitch meeting. You're trying to get a third-party management account, and you're like, well, why are you guys? And you got to sell all that in that one meeting, and you rushing the process. It's like going on a first date trying to get married. We're trying to build credibility fast in this one meeting. It's really not the best way to do it. So we're optimizing to try and get to that meeting so we can rush that process, and we're in this circle or this loop. I think if we think differently about the business development, it begins to open our minds to another way that creates a competitive advantage for you and your teams. Now, I'm going to have some time again for some questions in just here a minute, but I want to just say this one thing. It's a quote Jim Rohn said, and that is, success is not something that you pursue. What you pursue eludes you. Success is an outcome of the person you become. So the force you are pushing into the marketplace might be pushing clients away as fast as you're trying to acquire them. And what we're trying to do is like a feather floating in front of us. We're trying to catch the feather. You're not trying. Now, if there was a feather floating here and I was trying to go after it, just the force of going after it, the air, right, pushes the feather away. So you're sending outbound calls, you're sending salespeople to things, you're pursuing, and it potentially can push the client away. So for this experience and the time that we spend together here, this is a live meeting, right? So when we continue the conversation, you're gonna maybe think about an idea here, but I want this to be something where it's week to week. We collect the ideas. We have a Facebook group called Scaling Multifamily Brands. That's where if there's people on here that you want to meet with, we're all going to go there, and some of you are already there. Join the Facebook group, and if something that we talk about here needs to be followed up on, that's a place for us to connect, share some victories, get a little support. We'll jump in there, do some stuff there as well. But that's free. And again, I want this to be incredibly helpful for you. Now, thousands of people will watch this. They'll listen to it months and probably years after this meeting here. But what I'm going to give you an opportunity today to do is if you want to text me with any ideas or call directly, I'm going to let you do that I'm going to give you my direct. That's 480-780-2611. If you have an idea, text me, 480-780-2611. If you can also email me at patrick@mclients. That's the letter M, clients.com. If you want to email me, it's a great way to do that. So here's how these meetings are going to go. Again, we're going to share the topic in the email. You have the opportunity to send questions in advance. Then we're going to do this live meeting. We'll record this and then publish on the Scaling Multifamily Brands podcast. Then and by the way, make sure you subscribe to that. That's out there on Spotify and iTunes or Apple and all the places, right? And then what we'll do is we'll upload this video to our Facebook group where you can watch if somehow you miss a show. Now, like anything, the more action that we take, the more that we get to experiment and learn, and the better things get. I can tell you that probably this meeting here in 18 months will look very different in the future. We'll probably bring on guests to speak and some other ways to create value. But here's what I know about you. You have probably a product, you have a service, you have a business, investment company, and you're trying to land meetings and demos, and you want to sell your product. You want to grow your management company, investment. You want to attract capital. You want to get new investors. You want to get new clients. And we're going to attract vendors, investors, and management companies. All of them need clients. The trouble is people are busy. They don't return our phone calls. Maybe they take, too much time to say yes to your demo. And then you do have the demo and the meeting runs flat, the sales runs flat, you're chasing sales. Everything you've done before or have been taught about getting clients, maybe it's worked in the past, but it's the world that we're now living in, and what it used to be is not coming back. The world is evolving, it has evolved, and it's evolving fast. And by the way, the customer you're trying to sell to has evolved. The way in which people discover information has changed. You can't rely on trade shows. You may do them, but you can't rely on them. They don't happen enough. You can't rely on face-to-face meetings. People are working from home. You can't go to their home to meet with them. The offices are changing. Client dinners and all these things to get sales, it's not happening like it used to. Those things are still going to exist, and that's a great way to create value and competitive advantage, but you can't scale it, really. Can't scale with those efforts. In most cases, this is how you've been taught how to get clients in multifamily. You get some contacts. Sometimes you buy them. Sometimes you go to trade shows, you get opt-ins, all that stuff. Then you chase down people and you want to pitch them an offer in a sales call, right? And it's worked. You know it worked. You have clients. But what I'm asking you to do is think differently. And it doesn't mean that it's not a better way and a more efficient way to do it at scale. So the trouble I see right now is that what we're doing is we're talking to people that are likely not ready to buy. We need to be thinking about educating our marketplace or really our industry so that they can discover the value that your company, your brand has to offer. If I'm growing a management company, I'm doing thought leadership on how my leaders think about the business, how we look at lease ups, how we do due diligence, what a turnover looks like, what a takeover looks like. Let that investor who's in a tower somewhere get the information they need to get the confidence and the trust, so then they reach out to you and say, I know how you guys think and see the business. Do you think we can get a meeting? It's very different. Most buyers will do research long before they're ready to talk with you. You just don't know it because you're not tracking it. In fact, there was some research out that says 88% of the buyers don't want to talk to a salesperson until they're ready to buy. So that's a lot to think about in our opening remarks there. I'm going to let that settle with you guys. And then I'm going to bring up Jim here. We've got some questions. If you have some questions, raise your hand. There's a way to do that in the chat. And then for my production team, if we can put them in gallery so I can see all the faces, that would be awesome. And then, so Jim, let's open up with you. And by the way, if you haven't met Jim, he just recently joined us. And part of the reason why I brought Jim on, I've known him for 15, 18 years. And the reason why I brought him on is because Jim has gone through what you're going through, just like I have. And he's landed accounts from like Apple and all the big brands that you've seen in the world that take a long time to get with the right strategies, and they're foundational strategies. And he's going to help us help the clients that we have create a competitive advantage. So Jim, thank you for joining us. And if you have questions, he's here to pepper those to us.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick and everybody. It's great to be here today. It's I'm looking forward to the discussion. Just a real quick, I'm monitoring the chat and would love if anybody has a question about selling in today's environment and having some challenges. Love to have you put your question in the chat, and then that'll give me a chance to take a look at those. And then I may ask you, depending on how many we have, to raise your hand. That way we can identify who you are and pull you up on the screen so everybody can see your amazing face, and we can chat a bit about your issue and maybe help you along your path and make your life better. That's our goal today. So I think, though, to get the ball rolling, I've got a couple of questions, Patrick, that I think is topical for most salespeople today. Is the front of the pipeline looking for new leads and access to new clients. So that's always a challenge for a salesperson today. What are your comments on that? I know it's really general, but maybe that'll help get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and a lot of companies struggle sometimes with too many leads, but I'll tackle this one. I mean, the main thing is, again, that goes back to that statement: 88% of the people don't want to talk to a salesperson until they're ready to buy. So they're out there doing research. So the question I would ask is, is the product that you have available for people to discover when they're doing a search, when they're asking friends in groups, or people talking about your product as a user, right? So if you're an investment management office or a multifamily office where you're in charge of identifying sponsors or identifying management companies, is your brand top of mind when they think about markets? So if you're thinking about a market in Phoenix, are they thinking about your company, first? And the only way to do that is in business to business sales, which is, we have a service selling to another business. The people in the business are busy. They don't have a lot of time. And their emails they're getting more emails than they've ever gotten. So your reach out email is like way down in the list of things that they have to do, and the people that are reaching out to them. So how do you stand out with that? Is, I think, really understanding them and what they're going through, right? So having an understanding of the role that the person you're trying to sell to, what their life is like. So, for example, if I see Dale on here with Stellar, I love the hat. If I'm Dale and I'm a third-party management company and I'm trying to grow that, I'm thinking about the asset manager that has to choose third-party operators. So what information does that person go through? Like, number one, they've got their investor meetings and their quarterly reports and all that stuff. So I kind of go through their mind, like what's keeping them up at night, what information do they need in order to make a great decision. And then what you do is you produce content that they can get to when they're doing discovery. So it could be as easy as here are 6 ways what I would do. Here's how to hire a management company. These are the 6 steps, right? In Phoenix, right? And so then, instead of sending an email like, can I get a meeting? Can I show you what we got? You're sending that kind of, listen, I know you guys are investing in the market. You have some development deals. By the way, here's an article or a piece that we wrote. Maybe it's useful. And so you're making life easy for them. And you're basically dealing with the things that they probably need to do or have in order to make a yes decision to even meet with you. So creating content, I think, out there, and then sharing it organically, on your social media pages, LinkedIn, all the places that people are spending time. I mean, you look at TV commercials, and they have to take us from end to end in that 30 to 60 seconds, right? We are trying to just get people to a meeting, so then we can rush the process. I think you can extract your pitch and your offer and get more people to see it. So by the time that you have that meeting, they're prepared. They understand how you think, how you do things.
Interesting. Like you had mentioned at the beginning that some people get too many leads, and that brought to mind for me. Yeah, I've had that happen, but a lot of times those leads aren't the best quality. So how do you figure that out? How do you work that in so that when you're getting a call from someone, you can actually help them?
Yeah, so you start to think about the value of your team's time, right? Spending time with the wrong people sometimes is bad. And maybe emotionally they're like, man, we're not doing well because you're talking to the wrong person at the wrong time, right? So good marketing will repel as much as it attracts. A lot of people think about, how do I get the right people in my marketing and my sales and all that stuff? But really, if you're doing it right, you're not having those conversations with, clients that aren't like the ideal fit, and you can get real targeted with how you do that, which is, like even how you attended this event. This is it's like investors, industry partners, vendors, and people sit back and are like, yeah, that's me. And then it's like, who want to do this thing and they don't want to do this thing. And you're like, okay, that's me. And so by the time they get into your system, that feather, right, you've drawn them in. And because you're really doing that in the meeting or a trip to an office, and it's just inefficient. You have to pay for your time as a salesperson, right? If you're the sales manager, your salespeople's time in multiples, right? Spending the time with the wrong people. So I think, again, it's going to go back to everything I'm going to do here with what we're trying to do, which is convert a customer into a long-term client, is great marketing is going to allow better sales to happen. And so it should repel as many people as it attracts in terms of the leads.
So sometimes it takes a while, though. And in the meantime, you've got to be out making cold calls and doing sales activities every day to meet your numbers and get your quota. So the pressure's still on to get all that done. I'd be curious at this group, how many people, if you could like go into the reactions and give me a thumbs up for everybody who does cold calls and loves them. I probably won't see any. How about people who just do cold calls? Yeah.
I do notice there's a tremendous amount of people not showing their video. I'm wondering what they're scared of. Are they all out in the field selling? Is that what it is? I see a lot of videos that are not shown. And so I'm trying to understand, this is designed to be a meeting, not a presentation. So I'm here for you guys. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to ask questions and engage. We do have a lot that has been submitted, but I want to make sure that we understand what we're doing here. So
Dale might have a question. Dale, did you have a question to ask?
No question today.
Okay.
And I like that he's got art actually on. We talked about art in the opening remarks, and that art has high value. Well, I know it does.
I'm house sitting for my neighbor, so I just have to finish up this meeting before they come home.
And we can talk about that later, Dale. But awesome. So yeah, let's just keep going through the questions that we have here, Jim. Again, a lot of people not showing their video. This is designed to be a meeting. I do plenty of broadcast events where you don't show your video. So I want to bring everybody in. This is designed for us to. Hi, Diane. I see Leslie now. Is it Paul? Rent Tango. Love the brand shout out there. Way to go. And Christina, how are you? Anybody want to be courageous and ask a question? Oh, how do we have to ask them to unmute? Or are they not allowed to unmute? What's the deal there?
Yeah, I just unmuted, Patrick.
What's that, Christina?
I figured I muted. I was just saying I have the hotel room background. I'm in a show.
Oh, yay. The life of on the road. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, me too.
I got a question if you're up for it.
Yeah.
How important is cost per lease from the group here? I guess it's like, trying to calculate the marketing spend that it took to generate an executed lease.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of renting apartments and getting people to rent apartments, I'm imagining everything that we're talking about here relates to that too. But I do know that there are certain data points, I think, that people track that give them some value to feel good about the things that they're doing. And there are also some things that you can do that are not trackable. I was sharing this with Jim this morning about something that 6-year touch point that turned into a very high ticket scenario. And so I think a lot of people what we don't do on this show is talk about the renters and how they get leases and which ILS to use and stuff like that. This is more like, how do I help Rent Tango get quality clients that believe in your product, understand your product, and and share about your product to others because you've done such a great job building it. But
Awesome.
to
Thank
your
you.
point,
I appreciate that one.
yeah.
Good.
To your point, though, it's the same. It's the same thing that we go through as we're looking at like how many leads. Like for example, when we do an event, people will ask how many people are going to be there, or will we get an attendee list? So that could be a metric, like what's right. But the real issue is, why do you need that information? Because you're dependent on that information to build your business. And that's where I think is where we're wrong, right? So if you're looking at what's the cost per lead for renting an apartment, I mean, the reality is people shop differently, right? And sometimes it takes time. Maybe they've done something that Dale at a party says, hey, by the way, I saw this new building over there. You should check it out. But then they go on to an ILS and then they do a search. I mean, it's just like, it's so hard to track. I think
the attribution is very difficult. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So what I've been talking about most recently regarding Rentango. So Rentango is a technology platform that allows real estate property managers to be more efficient in their marketing and leasing and present a more modern image in the marketplace. And what I've been saying is our software actually allows you to use software less. Because right now, everybody's using software a lot and they're staring at screens. And I tell these guys, I'm like, wouldn't it be great if instead of staring at the screens, your property manager would get out of his chair and go walk the community and go say hi?
That was one of the first lessons I learned in marketing class and sales was it's called MWA, management by walking around. Right.
Nice.
And it's critical. And you're right. We don't spend enough time out and about anymore. And nice. It's good to get the sunshine.
So Paul,
around. I'm taking that, by the way.
Paul, what are you doing to tell people about that?
So what am I doing? I've gone to a couple of trade shows. Apartmentalize wasn't that great. OpTech was better. I enjoyed OpTech a lot. We're doing a webinar coming up. Hopefully you received my invitation. We're doing a webinar on digital signing. We're breaking up our product into chapters, and we're calling it the Let's Lease Together seminar. Because we feel like most property managers today are consumed. You know, they're using these one of the top 6 products, these PMS products, and they don't have a connection with the software, with the people that they're working with. Right? They're just these big entities, and they put their data in, and the data maybe comes out and right. And Rentango is about, a collaborative approach. We're young, we're small, we're going to be a much more personal experience. So it's about leasing together. Our software makes your team better. That's the other thing we talk about making the team better. So we're doing banner advertising. We're doing some newsletter advertising, just, some blog posts, all of that.
So tell me about the webinar.
Yeah.
What will somebody experience on this webinar?
Well, I'm trying not to make it just a demo, because I don't think that that's really fair. But I do think that our process is pretty innovative, and it's incredibly time saving. I've talked to people. I talked to a lot of people, and I've heard that it can take as much as 45 minutes to create and send a lease out. Right? You might have to go to Microsoft Word and type in the data, and then you gotta take that document and upload it into DocuSign or something like that, and then you gotta drag your signature blocks into the right places on the document. Now, so with our system, that's all done for you. And it's just, in a couple of seconds. that whole process that took, almost an hour, right? An hour, is down to a few seconds. And that's taking, and how many leases are you doing in a week, right? Now we're talking about hours of savings, hours that you can use to meet with your tenants, with your residents, and ask them how they're doing, and create a relationship with Betty and the dog. Oh my gosh, imagine if you pet some dogs in the lobby. I mean, bonus points right there. And that is really what's going to keep the referrals, right? Because people have a better experience with their property management team. They feel like they're part of something, right? And they're not going to leave.
And you're doing all of this on the webinar?
The webinar is just the digital signing component, right? So we're just going to focus on digital signing, right? So that was that point, right? It's like saving time, right? It's one of the pieces on the saving time. So I'm going to show how we manage contracts in our system, how you can self-manage your own leasing contracts. And I'm going to talk about how we can generate a customized lease for an individual, for a tenant. And then we're going to have also just talk a little bit, if there's any questions about compliance and the legality of a digital signature. I'll have some people to talk about that if those questions come up.
And do you do these webinars live, or are they pre-recorded?
Good question. I'm doing them live for right now.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Yes.
And you don't have to give me numbers, but I'm assuming you register like you guys did here. Like they have to they have to commit to a date and time, and then they show up for this webinar, right?
Yes.
Have you considered just breaking up that webinar and creating more content to where they can discover it without you, and you can sell at scale?
Yeah, so we plan to.
Dale's one of your customers probably, and he's giving me the thumbs up. So I struck a chord with him. He doesn't want to probably register for any more stuff.
Right. So when you say sell at scale, so you're saying it's an educational article, it's a video that somebody could download and pay for?
So just so you know, you're doing it right now. So when I record this, I'm going to give you a gift, and you're going to take a snippet of what you said here that told you about how you're creating value, and then you're going to take that, put it on your LinkedIn, and post it. Not on YouTube, but on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And
Excellent.
And just say or whatever. So that's kind of what I mean by scale. Now, you don't have to be there ever again to say that again. So instead of doing the webinar like I am, you do the next time you do the live webinar, just record it, right? But then you start breaking that up. You mentioned breaking up your product into, was it chapters you said?
Yeah. So we're going to be doing multiple webinars, and exactly that's the vision I'm hoping to achieve, is then have all this content that's on our website that's drawing people in with these. They'll be accessible without having to come to a webinar. They'll be on demand, right? That's what it's called, right? On demand.
But free too. So let me ask you this. The people that have converted some way through this process, what do you know about them, right? What got them there? Was it save time, lease more efficiently? Were they a lease-up customer? Was it a third-party operator? Was it a developer? Really get into those things. And then when you're creating that content out there at scale, you're titling and listen, if you're a multifamily developer going through a lease up, come to this or watch this, or you know what I mean? Really be specific about what the people you're trying to bring in care about and need. Because this is one thing I will tell you that I've learned this is people do not want our products or information. They want what's possible. And I'll give you an example. Nobody wants smart home tech, right? Because they just wake up thinking, I want some technology today. What they want to do is they want to be able to lease apartments when somebody quits on them. Right. It doesn't, or when someone doesn't show up for I can still do a self-guided tour or what have you. So that the CEOs are struggling with, talent, labor, all these things, or the operators and the property managers. So when you package your product in context to the problem that you could solve for them, you get them to pay attention to the content. And then if there's no friction there, like register for this thing, then it's like you're just moving them along. And instead of trying to convince or convert, you're just moving things forward. And pretty soon they understand it. And then there's enough awareness that they think about you.
I agree with that. You got to create the value proposition.
Can we give Paul a little round of can we kind of like all those that are courageous with the video? Can we give him a little? I'm going to give him a little round of applause there. Good job. I want to reward their question. We're just getting started here. So thank you for that. Did I miss out on anything? And I know I'd love to have you back like every week and let's get you where you need to be. And it's not always going to come from me, right?
Yeah. I'm
sure others in here learned something from what Paul just shared, and they're probably doing the same stuff.
Hopefully that's what this is about, right? This is about collaborating and sharing. Dale, I think Dale's got something.
Yeah, Dale. We're going to ask Dale to unmute, and then we'll bring him live on the show. Dale, welcome in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm sure you're curious about the hat,
yes,
and the glasses, and the construction vest. Well, Stellar is under construction. That's why we're building a company, and we're building a brand. But I don't really have a question, but I just have a statement that I think somebody might have an opinion of or some value in. Something that's I've been valuable to me in respect for limited time that we all have for these events is when someone approaches me with an idea that let's engage, let me share my company with you, is the fact that if I want to do it, I can view their calendar and I can book an event. I love that feature. If you don't have it, you need it because it's the best respect of everyone's time where I can fit myself into your calendar and maximize the flow of information. So I just wanted to share that with anybody.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. And, we even have tools ourselves that can support you with that. But you definitely taking the friction out. It's the same thing with the leasing journey you guys are all trying to solve. Frictionless experience. It works the same thing with getting clients as well. All right, Jim, what do we have next? Anybody else out there that has a question or a statement or comment or idea or any success strategies?
Well, I haven't gotten any additional chat questions, but would love to see someone raise their hand today. Or I could just, let's see, there's a question that's come up in the previous sessions about prospects opening emails and having challenges with that. What are some strategies to help salespeople to engage clients that just at this point don't have any interest? They don't know yet what they need from you.
Yeah, great one. And the marketing automation technology that we've put together in workflows, which basically nurtures content, right? I think it's the intent that you put into the email is important. What I opened up with was, you can have all the technology and the things, connected to each other and doing all the things, but if you're not saying the right things in the messages, they're not going to pay attention to them. So the email subject line is just to get them to open the email. And what's in the top of the email needs to be all about them, all about what they want, all about how they get it, right? And not about you. So, for example, we ran an event for a staffing group, and it was to solve the maintenance challenges, okay? And you have people that say, I can't get people to open my email. I can't get people to register for my webinar. I can't get people to schedule a demo meeting, what have you. And so instead of them asking them for a demo, which nobody wakes up and says, I want a demo today, or I want a webinar. What they want is their problem to be solved, or they want a bigger and better future. So that what you're doing in these emails is probably more important than how you're sending them, how often you're sending them, and the structure of it. So, for example, in this maintenance event that we ran, we knew our customer. we know that they wake up every day thinking we need to solve the challenge finding maintenance technicians. And we also know they're trying to run a business in a tough economy where collecting rents was more challenging than ever before. And so we knew cash management and budget and revenue and things like that were of their concern too. So we ran a title in the subject line and then in the header of the page, which was, let me think if it was how to hire apartment maintenance technicians without spending a fortune on ads. So think about this. You know, if you're a recruiter or staffing company or property manager or CEO, this is like a problem in your business. So when you see that come across your inbox, you're like, this is about me. Like, I can't find apartment maintenance technicians. And yeah, I'm tired. I just signed a check for recruiter costs or ad costs and I'm tired of that. So that content worked really well because we thought about our customer and what they want, right? Which is they want to hire apartment maintenance technicians. And what they don't want to do is spend a fortune on ads doing it. So it was like, yes, I'm in for that. So we're very careful about what we say in those emails because what most people are doing, and I'm empathetic to this because you have sales managers and companies get funded. And they're like, we got to reach this number and go to the market. And we got to hit this and we got to rush. And, you know, we invested all this money in the trade, whatever it is. And you're trying to convert fast when the buyers aren't ready to buy and you're starting in the email to do that. And instead of trying to get them to get a demo or get a conversion in the email or get them to know everything about you, focus on building trust in the email. Focus on serving their value in the email. And so they look forward to your email and there's no call to action. People know how to respond to an email. And then after you keep going, once they do respond, like Dale said, you make it easy for them to become a customer. Just like us. You just go to the website, it says schedule a call. If you want to talk about what Dale said, if you go to our website right now, you click on mclients.com, you hit book a strategy session or book a call, and it's like, bam, here's the calendar, pick it. Zero friction. So building trust in those emails needs to be the intent, not to get a client, not to get a meeting, not to get a sale. It's build trust.
Yeah, I would add, Patrick, that some level of personalization is important. All right. And, you know, one of the really bad things is like when the company name is like, Multifamily Clients Incorporated, right? And then your email says, I hope that, you know, your company, you know, you're doing well at Multifamily Clients Incorporated. It's like, you know, guys, you're spamming me. Get the hell out of here.
Right.
Delete. Right. So you can't make those sloppy mistakes. But providing some level. So, you know, Kevin Dorsey is like this email phenom guy. You can do a Google search on Kevin Dorsey. And, but it's about here's what I know about you. And here's, he has like a framework, like, here's what I know about you. Here's what I did. So I went to your website or I talked to somebody at your company or something, right? So here's what I know about you. Here's what I did. Here's the information I know. And here's why what I'm talking about is relevant to you now. So it's like framing it, right?
Yeah. 100%. And,
right.
And it's what it is. It's one-to-one versus one-to-many. So, and you'd be surprised in the words you use, from you to everyone. Hey, everyone, thanks for, you know, like it's the person, it's the one-to-one, the personalization. I can't agree more with. We'll do like the first name stuff because we have a lot of automation and emails that go out in terms of, because people are on demand requesting these things, but we won't go overboard, like you said, on the the old mail merge, because if the data's coming in bad, then you're really in trouble. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you have to massage that data before
yes.
it goes out because it's but also, a good thing is sometimes some typos. If you got a typo in there, it just, there's a human touch, right? If it's all perfect, right? And I know that might be a preference that people don't feel comfortable with, but if there's a typo, a small one, an easy one, it shows some humanity in the conversation.
Right. And I agree with that. That is definitely a way to make a mark. And I saw a post somewhere on, was it LinkedIn or something? And it's the whole there or there are, or, THEIR. And there's always like someone that maybe doesn't get it right, but then they get the engagement because they didn't get it right. So if the intent is to be like known as I know grammar, then that's great. Say it. But if the intent is to get engagement, there's actually a way to manufacture it.
Right. I'm trying to elicit a response of some sort and just stand out from the crowd. And personalization is so incredible. I always go to somebody's website. I try to before I'm going to talk to them or email them, and I just look and I'm like, oh, your portfolio in the greater Atlanta region, right? It's not that hard. You can see that. And it's like, bam, you can't get that data. I actually will call out, I really love the building on 95th Street. My goodness, it's amazing. Simple, right? Simple, but I know that they have a building on 95th Street, right? And that says something that I took the time. Oh, well, these guys are actually taking the time to look at me. Wow, I'm not just a random, bot.
So imagine, Paul, that because you're talking about really the hand-to-hand combat stuff, the real good, and imagine you do. So what you did there is you're making it, again, all about them. They have, look at Dale. He's and I love what he said about under construction, because nothing is ever done, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Let's give Dale a little round of applause. I don't think Dale got the applause. Sorry, I might have missed that one. But the making it all about them, they took risk to put these deals together. They, fussed about every little thing from signage to all this stuff. And so, you do. It's like when you hear a name, right? It's like you kind of perk up, like, oh, and so that personalization. But what if you added another element to it? Like you do that introduction. Hey, on 95th, I love what you guys did with the signage. It looks beautiful. By the way, boom, link to this thing that you created. Instead of the registration webinar, just a link to this thing that adds value to them. By the way, we're helping, have a look. And I have to meet with you. Because we grow up not wanting to be polite, talk to our, be kind to our neighbors at school, so when someone comes on a demo meeting or a sales meeting, they're in a position in which they know that they have to be set up to say no to somebody. And that doesn't always feel good, right? And so there's this energy tug happening. But if you could sell at scale, what I mean by that is instead of trying to go for the demo, let them listen or watch or learn or read about the thing, a podcast, an article, whatever. And then where they read that thing, there's a very easy way for them to book a call, like Dale said, right? Mm-hmm. So we put those things on landing pages, right? We have our software does that. Put it on a landing page, and it's like, here, this great value. So you add a little bit of personalization in the email to get them to focus and open. You did some research on their property. They're like paying attention because it's all about them and all that they created. And then it's like, here's this thing, and there's no risk.
Right.
And then if they're there, you're just moving the sale, you're just moving things forward. And then you have something to, follow up on.
Right. My sales team, they complain that they're constantly being told that they're talking to people that are not they're not interested in buying. They're not at the point in which they're considering buying. So that's the outbound research, right? It's our outbound calling and all of that. So what we're doing is trying to spend more time and effort on this inbound process, which is why we're doing these webinars and the blog posts. We're doing more public relations. We are developing partnerships, right? So we are not developing partnerships. We are focused on our partnerships, right? So every partner that we have within our system, we're now working with their marketing teams. We've picked them out. There's one every sort of 6 weeks. This is the concept. Every 6 weeks, we're focusing on one partner. We're developing a press release, a social media campaign, a blog post, and a webinar around the integration and whatever the service that partner provides. And then they're providing their own marketing support and their own consumer base to generate more visibility in the marketplace through partnerships. So partnerships, I think, are the lowest hanging fruit for new customer generation than anybody. Forget about those dumb emails you're sending. Honestly, they're not going to work. But if you can work with your partners, because they work with some of your customers already. They're through some of those other relationships that they have, and they can grow. And you can use the brand equity that your customer has, your partner has, to bring more brand equity to yourself. And so that's what we're trying to do. Increase the brand equity, use the partnerships, create more content to get people who actually are interested in buying rather than the opposite.
Right. And how they're on that fun at that stage. And you mentioned something important. We'll get to I think Dale had a question. We'll get to that in a second. But to respond to what you just said there, I love it. I love the way you're thinking. It's very different. And I do see people getting great success with that. And what's also powerful that can make it go even further is when those partnerships are made, that when people get introduced at some point, however it is, that when they go check you out, that all the things that they need to know about your brand are there in terms of what objections would they have. Would this work for me? Does it integrate? All those things are there for them when that touch point happens, that it knocks down the buyer uncertainties in many cases. And so the movie, I always mention this movie, the movie Toy Story. You guys have probably seen it. Steve Jobs at Pixar was the story, which was a great story. They were best in the world at that. And then Disney was the distribution. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a great brand and a great story, but you can't get it seen, that's where things fall flat. And so if these partnerships are the distribution.
Yeah, the distribution, I think, of the content, that's a really great way to say it. It's I hadn't thought of it that way, but it's how are you distributing your message? Right. How is the story being told out there? And
where it's being, everything starts here. Or think about it. I mean, even I'll pick on the auto industry. The auto industry said no to Tesla, and their National Trade Association actually created a campaign to say, dealer, you need to buy a car at a dealer. Can't buy it online. It's bad for everybody, except the customer, right? It's bad for the dealers that they serve, but not the customer. And so for a long time, Tesla was fighting the energy of all of that. And now, and in fact, Tesla, because they needed the category of electric vehicles to succeed, gave the patents of their invention to the whole industry because they wanted everybody to do better, right? The customer. Because if you solve for the customer, they're always going to win, right? And then now, I think Tesla's worth more than all those automakers combined. One company, more than all of them. And the fascinating point there is that when companies like Ford came out with I think it's their Lightning truck, where did they go to announce it? To TV. Okay. They did what they like. People get jobs, they get promoted, they do well, and then they hire people and they teach them how they learned what they learned along the way. Mm-hmm. And so now Ford announces their cars in like a commercial, TV commercial, which is fine. I get it. But you don't see the Tesla commercials. You see people talking about Tesla in the news because they're on phones, and Apple News comes in, or social, or on Twitter, right? Like, so the distribution is there are people that think there's only one way to just get out there, and they go to these trade shows. It's like Ford saying, only way to get people to know about my cars is do a TV commercial. Yet Tesla's over here going, I got a much better way. I'm going to get everybody talking about my product. It's going to be so cool. I'm going to bake in product. The doors go like this, so then it ends up on TikTok. Because everybody, even TV is on here. So the distribution, you need to be able to get it natively seen, like in your own, like every one of your sales reps can put the video that you clip from anything that you do, right, into the channel. But the difference is, it's not just getting it seen. It's like Twitter, the feed's gone and you're out. You've got to have a way that whatever you're seeing, it goes to a place that it's easy, loads fast. It's not like a website that they got to find. It's just like a landing page. They see the content or the value of the blog. And then if they like it and enjoy it, and then they want to take an action, there's an easy way for them to do that. It's frictionless, like Dale said. So anyway, that's I think that's the trend is people haven't figured out the distribution piece. But for us, what we do is we run events around the problems, not just because we want to run a webinar. I mentioned the maintenance event. So find out what the people that have already converted with your product, what they wanted solved before they become a customer. Run an event for something like that, because there's customers like that. There's more of them. Run an event, that's the distribution, right? And then you're the expert solving the problem. And then they're like, oh, wow, okay, well, that's the tool I need to do that problem. And then you have this natural, and you're helping people.
Right.
Not selling them. Dale, did I miss a moment? Did you have a thought? I thought I saw you raise your hand, or you just...
No, I just have two things to say, Patrick. And that is, thank you for doing this. And next week, I will make sure my background, I'll be officing somewhere that has a bunch of awards behind it, so I can trump Carrie Kirby. And then the third thing is, rarely does the industry respect the sales prowess of leasing apartments. And we personally at Stellar have abandoned all of the traditional scripting and reviewing of what people say. And our whole mantra is to simply be helpful. And if we can be helpful at the end of the day, because we all know that moving sucks and we all need help with something. So even though we have a lot of different sophisticated softwares and tracking methodologies and follow up and everything, when we have an opportunity to engage someone, we figure out where their biggest need is, and that's our full intent. And maybe at some point in your weekly gatherings, we can go a little deeper into that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. You guys, Dale, I don't know if you're in the Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. I'm sure people would love to pick your brain on these things. I mean, I love that he said moving sucks. I mean, just think about that. All that we do for multifamily, like the customer has to do that, right? It's simple language, and it's just hits hard. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Forgot about all of that at the customer. So thanks,
It's
Dale.
our brand guideline.
Yeah. Very cool.
Just be helpful.
Be helpful. All right, Jim, what do we got? I see someone with their hand up. I don't know if we answered. It's maybe down in the...
Yeah, that's Frida. Frida asked a great question in the chat, and I asked her if she'd be willing to come on and ask the question live. So she's here.
Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Frida. So why don't you go ahead and ask your question, and we'll chat about it.
Yeah, of course. So more on the business development side regarding tenant communications. And it's been an experience because our company was mainly targeting office in the beginning prior to the pandemic. So it's been about a year now, a year and a half, where we've been navigating the real estate sides of things in regards to, we basically do signage and for use for property managers. And it's been difficult regarding booking meetings and demos, of course. We've tried Calendly. We find that there's a lot more success when we do that manually, when we take on conversations ourselves. But how we're navigating outreach at the moment is through emails. And with emails at the moment, we're finding that we don't want to waste time. We want to target both C-level and also through site level. But the problem is what we've been experiencing throughout this year is that we're being left with a lot of comments where there's a lot of a distaste just because of our mass emails when we selectively chose site and specific marketing directors. So we're just wondering what is the best approach, because we never know who makes this decision. We never know too much about that side to things. So how is the best approach in regards to this? Because we don't obviously want to use too much time and we want to be time effective.
Yeah, great question. And I will tell you in regards to like the automation you mentioned Calendly. I mean, we have a calendar booking system, the same thing. I mean, it's in our software. It allows you to see the appointment, book the meeting, all of that. What we use that for is when the customer's initiating the intent. Okay? When people are emailing us because they're responding to something else, and that's when we get in there and sort of personal love on them, and yeah, it's not as efficient, but we're like, oh, great, and we just kind of nurture it because every back and forth is an opportunity for a touch point and exchange. Have a great weekend, whatever that is. So we don't suggest automating that like you're doing, and you've kind of already figured that out. But let's pick on Calendly a little bit, because there was a case study done on them around how did they grow so fast. And the way it's very similar to our business in that in Calendly, you have who's the customer. You have people that need to schedule meetings. So you're doing it for sales and stuff, but let's just put yourself in the mind of like a recruiter scheduling job interviews like all day long. Right? Imagine the time that they spend going back and forth. Is Tuesday good? No. Oh, let me check my calendar. Oh, wait, what time zone? All that stuff. Massive amounts of time for the user of the recruiter. And then you have like the firm owner of the recruiting firm who is sitting on piles of success, not doing those meetings, right? And not motivated by like saving time in that process. So selling that tool has to be different to both parties. So to the recruiter, it's like, this is going to make life easy. You won't have to ever do time zone calculations again. Or how about in one click, people will be on your calendar and it'll remind them or whatever, right? And so the recruiter's like, I'm in for that. So that could be like the property level. They have a different pain and a different opportunity they're trying to create. They're just trying to keep their job, do a good job, all that stuff, right? The CEOs that could deploy and approve your product are maybe need a different message, right? So the way that you're going about it, mass email and all that kind of stuff, I mean, we could look at it and all that, but the point is it may not be that it's the wrong way. It may be like if we craft different messages to segmenting different audiences. Because what we do is when people come inbound they have to opt into these things, right? So they opt in and they're like, I want to be part of the innovation summit or this or that. And so we tag them with audiences. So we know like, these are the property managers. These are the C-level executives. These are the vendors looking for this. And so when we're sending messages, it's again, a win for them. And if you're sending a message to the on-site team about, something that maybe the CEO cares about, they're going to be annoyed and agitated about it in many cases. So I think list segmentations. Are you segmenting your lists at all?
We are, and even to what Paul said, we're trying to even set up Google alerts in regards to new events that owners or management companies are having experienced as of recently. So we're trying to curate them specifically. But there's still, we are doing a 6-month turnaround. So we'll go back to those that haven't had a response. So we're just like, are we overdoing it as well with that turnaround? Should we wait a year?
Yeah.
But it seems like 6 months has been working out so far. But the curation, so we've been leveling it out, saying like partnerships for C-level, like trying to do different verbiage. But
well, let me ask you this. What's the sales process? When someone gets this email, what are you hoping to have happen?
Solidifying a meeting for sales reps, but it's
okay.
Great. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, signage, you're talking about outdoor signage or indoor signage or?
Mainly indoor, elevator in both lobby.
Okay. So in my opinion, it's a visual product.
Yes.
So instead of going again for the conversion of a meeting or a sell, add value in those emails about some of the clients that are using your product. And maybe it's something funny of a sign that you made, or this sign, you wouldn't believe this sign actually led to rent increases, or this sign, led to something, that's, used, this signage allowed the fitness classes to double in attendance. Right. So what the activities director or the leasing manager is in charge of, maybe they're at 98% and they don't need to do anything else. Right. But their goal, what's in it for them is like they're trying to keep people there. So they're like coming up with fitness classes. And all of a sudden you send an email and it has this is the signage that led to more awareness around amenities. And you're not asking them to do anything, but you're seeing your product in the result of another customer choosing you. And it may just be like an idea. And then in the email, it's like, hey, let us know if you have any ideas or what's working for, and then use Patrick, the visual.
Men don't like to ask for directions.
What's that?
I said, men don't like to ask for directions. Right. So there's something about that, right? You can make a joke about like, so how many men do you have in your property, right? And we provide wayfinding, so your men are happier. I mean, it's like, that's what Patrick is trying to say. He's trying, if you can provide some humor, they didn't wake up this morning and say, I got a problem with my signage, right? So you're facing a very similar problem that I am. Is like, we're not an issue right now. So you either have to try to generate, interest when people they're in the need, right? So, one of the things that we were targeting was new developments, right? Because who's investing money in changing signage after the building's already been built, right? No one's doing that. That's a long shot. You could try, but that's probably a long shot. But the new developments are where there's the money to actually, and they're thinking about it. So if you target the property management companies that have new products in the dirt, shovels in the dirt, then you probably have an opportunity to talk to them at the time in which they're considering these things. And then I would also say, the creative agencies, right? So it's not necessarily the property management firms who are even making these decisions. They don't really care. They are probably farming that out to some interior design company or some branding agency to actually make the decisions on design.
Yeah, I love those ideas. That's great. And also, I'll give you one more. Investor, multifamily syndicators or deal sponsors. These are the people that are buying properties with the intent to increase the value of those properties. That's part of their business plan. So you can track, you can go to multifamilybiz.com and look at what properties just sold and who bought them and all that stuff, right? And then make an introduction, because they're putting together a plan like after they get control of the property, they're going to renovate. They're going to do things to bring more value. And so you have a fresh idea coming in, and now you're just top of mind. And they'll probably have a plan to do that over and over. And that client's taking you with you on every project.
Yeah, Patrick, I love that. Right, because Frida, I mean, probably the signage isn't a lot of money. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of money. So, you probably can provide a lot of value with updating. I think Patrick's idea is like amazing, right? Because you're going to provide a lot of value to dress up the place for, a reasonable amount of money. Patrick, what did you say? You said multifamily, like syndicators or something?
Oh, multifamilybiz.com. You want to join the newsletter there. They have, it's the largest media site in multifamily. And so all the transactions are happening, the press releases, and who's buying, who's moving into the markets, all that stuff. And just get on that list, because you're, right after they close, they're like, let's go find some value. And then in terms of Frida, I would be, if I were you, I would start doing thought leadership around the creative part about because I'm going to tell you right now, in multifamily, we're not very good at design. We're not very good at, in fact, the way the business is set up to, like, you're a hero if you save money and grind your vendor, which is crazy, right? You're a hero if you do it yourself, right? So some of these subjective opinions that people may have about their own graphic design and stuff, it goes back to the old print days and magazines where they were like more involved. But I would become an expert, and you already are, but I would start offering that value to others to learn, like, here's how you want to be looking at your signage. Here are the colors that are trending right now. This is what is inspiring other brands, or and you're getting your own influence by looking, at compelling ads around the world. But I would bring that to them, and now you're making them smarter. You're making them, they think of you because you're the expert. It's much easier to sell when you're an expert than a salesperson, right? So when you're
the other part of that, Patrick, that comes to mind for me is that when you offer that education in an honest way, they're busy, they're swamped, they don't really want to do that work anyway. So it develops you as the expert. They trust you, and you can say, hey, I can help you do it yourself, or I can do it for you. And all of a sudden they go, whoa, how much were you going to charge me again? And, and they look at their schedule, they go, yeah, why don't you come in and do that for me? And then you're in the door, right? So that helps a lot. Have you found that to be the case for you, Frida, at all?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Have you had that situation happen? Maybe not.
Well, listen, I bet we all have, right? Like it's very, I guess, fundamental. I think that, what time is it? I'm way over my time, aren't I? So this has been fun, but if you guys want to join us next week, I think this should be automatically in your calendar. I think you only have to register for it once, and then you'll get an email on what we do to the topic for the next week. And in between that, go to Scaling Multifamily Brands in Facebook. And what I'd like to do is invite you to join that group, and you can continue these conversations. We can connect with you. Paul, appreciate your time on here. Frida for asking the questions. I know Dale, he's left, but appreciate him asking some questions. And Leslie, I see you there taking some notes. Appreciate your time. Listen, this is designed to be helpful. So if you've got ideas on ways we can do that, let us know. You can send questions to question@mclients.com. That's another way. If you've got an idea for a show or a topic, that's question@mclients.com. And then you can also text me at 480-780-2611. And yeah, this has been fun. I appreciate you guys coming on. And with that, we'll see you in the next show.
Hey, Patrick, thanks for
All right.
having us. This is Kerry. I'm sorry I didn't get to
hey,
jump
Kerry.
in too much, but I think good topics. So I've got some ideas. I've just been listening, and I'll share those with you. Maybe something we can do next round on. I hear a lot of content, struggles out there. So.
Yeah,
anyway,
I appreciate that. That's awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you.